Hey, Star Babes, and welcome back to my channel. For 20 years, we're told that Sean Carter was the absolute blueprint for human evolution. We watched him rise from a street hustler to a multi-billionaire, and in 2017, when he dropped the album 444, the spiritual community literally crowned him as a guru. He was talking about ego death, therapy, and healing generational trauma. It felt like he had cracked the code to high vibrational living. But right now, the internet has completely inverted the narrative. A massive wave of creators, metaphysical researchers, and cultural analysts are claiming that Jay-Z's energy has entered a dangerous low-frequency tailspin. Rumors of artists quietly distancing themselves from Rock Nation, the intense public backlash over his recent corporate moves, and the bizarre obsession with his vibrational calibration are dominating the algorithm. This isn't just standard celebrity cancel culture. This is a collective energetic rejection. So why did the internet sense that he thought he was hiding? Did he break a fundamental spiritual law by trying to weaponize his wealth? And what happens to a man's reality when his consciousness plummets on the famous Hawkins Scale? If you think this is about hip-hop gossip, you're missing the entire matrix. In this episode, we're pulling back the corporate curtain. We're decoding the exact moment his frequency broke, looking at the hidden numbers on the Hawkins Scale, and revealing the terrifying spiritual cost of choosing pure force over true power. Don't blink. Let's dive in. To understand why this is completely breaking the algorithm right now, we have to look at the exact pieces of evidence the internet is using to build this case. When a creator uploads a video titled Jay-Z's Low Frequency Exposed, they aren't just making it up. They are tapping into three massive cultural shifts that happened almost simultaneously. The 444 mirage. First, let's talk about the 444 mirage. In the spiritual text community, there is a universal law. Once you wake up, you cannot pretend to be asleep without poisoning your own well. In 2017, Jay-Z gave us ultimate vulnerability. He laid bare his sins, his ego, and his marriage. But since then, the vulnerability completely vanished. It was replaced by an incredibly guarded, insular, billionaire elitism. The collective felt a bait and switch. The guy who rapped about freeing the community started sounding like a corporate gatekeeper. The internet labeled this the first major frequency drop, a retreat from the heart chakra back into the lower ego centers. Second, let's look at the global shift in the collective consciousness. People are entirely exhausted by institutional power, secret meetings, and billionaires controlling the narrative. Because Jay-Z has spent the last several years positioning himself at the absolute apex of corporate entertainment and sports management, he has become the physical archetype of the elite. When viral commentary talks about his low frequency, they are picking up on an energy of control, isolation, and self-preservation. The $500,000 versus dinner psychological test. And finally, the meme that exposed the public psychological breaking point. Would you rather have $500 in cash or have dinner with Jay-Z? When this trend went viral, it stopped being a joke. Spiritual creators began analyzing it like a literal soul evaluation. They argued that anyone choosing the dinner was operating in a low-frequency state of idolatry and lack, believing they needed proximity to a God figure to bypass their own worth. Meanwhile, choosing the cash symbolized sovereignty, realizing the power is within you. The massive, overwhelming public shift toward taking the money was the exact moment the collective stopped worshiping his archetype. Now let's ground this discussion in actual metaphysical science. When people throw around the words low frequency or bad vibes, it usually sounds like empty slang. But we're analyzing this using the Hawkins Scale of Consciousness, a profound framework developed by Dr. David R. Hawkins, a renowned psychiatrist and conscious researcher. Dr. Hawkins discovered that every human emotion, thought pattern, and spiritual state calibrates at a specific numerological frequency from 1 to 1,000 on a logarithmic scale. At 200, anything below 200 operates on force. It is destructive, ego-driven, and relies on taking energy from the world around it. This is where pride, desire, and fear live. Anything above 200 operates on power. It is constructive, life-aligned, and radiates energy outward to uplift the collective. This is where courage, acceptance, and reason live. When a public figure such as Jay-Z is accused of dropping into a low frequency, what is happening mathematically on this scale is that they have crossed back down over the 200 line. They have traded power for force. To understand how this happened to Jay-Z, we have to look at his brilliant yet dangerous chronological calibration. If we look at his life like a spiritual case study, it maps beautifully across 3 distinct calibration eras. Go back to Reasonable Doubt, Volume 1, and the birth of Rockefeller. Early Jay-Z operated purely in the frequencies of desire, which is 125, and pride, 175. Desire is the energy of the hustle. It's driven by a desperate need to escape poverty, accumulate assets, buy the chains, and secure the status. It is a highly magnetic energy, which is why early hip-hop can captivate the entire planet. But it is ultimately a low frequency because it comes from an internal void of not having enough. By the early 2000s, Jay-Z evolved that into master level pride, 175. Pride says, look at my empire. I am better than my rivals. I am the king of this city. Pride is powerful enough to get a person out of the gutter, but on the Hawkins scale, it is incredibly fragile because it requires you to constantly defend your crown and keep your foot on the competition's neck to maintain your self-worth. But in 2017, something miraculous happened. Jay-Z hit a ceiling where money, status, and luxury could no longer protect him from his own internal shadows. His marriage was fracturing, his private life was exposed, and his old ego tools completely failed him. Instead of crashing into despair, he made a quantum leap straight past the 200 threshold into acceptance, 350, and reason, 400. Acceptance on the Hawkins scale means you stop blaming the world, drop the denial, and take 100% emotional accountability for your flaws. On 444, the album, he killed his own ego. He apologized, showed his wounds, and wept over his mistakes. Simultaneously, he tapped into reason, 400, using high-level logic, economic strategy, and systematic intelligence to teach financial freedom to his community. It was beautiful, high frequency, authentic power. So what went wrong? Why are we sitting here looking at viral titles about his energetic downfall? Because of a foundational law of metaphysics. You cannot buy, contract, or corporate structure your way into a permanent high frequency. The internet is picking up on a massive energetic regression. Over the last few years, as his wealth crossed deeper into the multi-billion-dollar stratosphere, his public focus appeared to shift away from community liberation and back towards absolute corporate control. On the Hawkins scale, when an entity begins using institutional systems, legal leverage, and elite status to insulate themselves, silence critique, and dominate markets, they instantly lose access to the higher frequencies of reason and acceptance. They slide straight back down into pride, 175, and fear, 100. The fear of losing their position and the pride of thinking they are above the culture that created them. That leads me to comment on him taking this new deal with Target as an exclusive seller of his Reasonable Doubt Collector's Items album. This is totally clear on what he's doing. True power inspires people effortlessly. Force requires non-disclosure agreements, heavily guarded public appearances, corporate alliances, and a constant defensive posture. The reaction of the collective. When the celebrity operates in pure force, the universe always creates an equal and opposite counterforce to restore balance. The viral videos, the scathing commentary, the loss of cultural mystique, that is a collective consciousness pushing back against an energy that is trying to manipulate them. The audience can inherently feel that the raw honesty of 444 was traded back in. 444 was traded back in for a boardroom shield. Now let's bring this all the way home. Because analyzing Jay-Z's frequency isn't actually about tearing down Sean Carter. He's a human being after all, navigating his own path under a spotlight none of us can fathom. The real reason these videos are generating millions of views is because Jay-Z is acting as a massive mirror for the collective matrix. We are all trying to navigate this exact same Hawkins scale in our everyday lives. How many times have you started a new job, a business, or a relationship purely out of desire and pride, eager to prove your doubters wrong, obsessed with looking successful and terrified of looking weak? We all know how heavy that armor gets. And we also know the beautiful, liberating relief of hitting our own personal 444 moment, the day we drop the act, look at our flaws in the mirror, step into acceptance, and start operating out of genuine self-love and logic. The viral warning trend dominating your feed right now is a reminder for all of us. No matter how successful you become, the moment you prioritize protecting your ego, your status, or your comfort over your raw, authentic truth, your frequency will take a hit. True power cannot be bought, and the world can always tell when you're trying to force it. What's your take on this, guys? Do you think Jay-Z has genuinely experienced an energetic shift, or is the internet just projecting its frustrations against the billionaire class onto its favorite target? Drop your comments below. Let's keep it analytical and high vibration and respectful. If you want to keep decoding the matrix with me, make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash the like button to help push this episode out into the algorithm. Stay sovereign, guys. Stay high frequency, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.